Hey, Modern Royalty Podcast Tribe. It's Princess Sarah Culberson. Today on Tea Time, I have interviewed the amazing Sahara Rose. What? She is so dope. She is a spiritual coach. She's a musician. My Body is My Altar. Is that correct? My Body is My Altar is her new album that has just come out. And she also has an amazing certification in the work that she does. You could do quizzes on her website to learn more about yourself and your journey and who you are. Are you air? Are you fire? Air, fire, and earth. I'm an earth person, so check it out. She's extraordinary. Her journey is powerful. She's overcome a lot. Stay tuned. You will love this episode. So wonderful to have you here today. The amazing Sahara Rose. Look at her. I mean, gorgeous, amazing artist, healer, musician, podcast host, a fabulous podcast. There's so much to talk about. So I'm going to start at the beginning.
Or we channeled the brown today.
I know, right? We didn't even plan
We're in the earth
frequency. Earth colors.
Feminine is rising.
And when I had the opportunity to talk to you on the phone for a little or a Zoom call, so we got to know each other, and we were wearing pink. It's like we're just completely connected.
I feel like I like to dress how I feel every day. It's such a thing. It's like such a feminine thing of like, instead of just your routine thing, it's like, I feel more grounded today, or I feel more, bright today. So I feel like we're like on the same wave right now.
Yes.
I'm curious what we're wearing the day that this episode comes out. We should text each other. Like,
that would be crazy. Yeah. I love that.
Blue. 1, 2, 3, blue.
I know. Right? I almost wore blue today.
Funny.
But
I almost wore blue today. Are they the same person?
That's so crazy. We are connected. And people do connect like that. That's what I feel like. People who work together, they're wearing the same outfits, they'll come to work, but we've just gotten to know each other and we're already doing this. So
yeah, I feel like in the world right now, there's this collective uprising happening of like spirituality and consciousness and feeling the unseen and our intuition. So it's often that, like, I often see a lot of us are coming to the same conclusions at the same time, having the same ideas, the same revelations, learning the same lessons. And it's something greater that I feel is coming through us.
Yes. Can you just share with everyone listening how you got on the spiritual journey? I mean, I know you're Persian and your background, and one of the things that you shared is like, wait a second. In my culture, you said we're supposed to be doctors or lawyers, and there are certain expectations. But all of a sudden you said, no, I'm going to take on the spiritual path and the spiritual journey. How did this start?
I believe as children, we are all spiritual.
Yeah.
The things that make us come alive. And I have 3 archetypes, which are related to the 3 Ayurvedic doshas, which are the mind-body types. And this often helps us see what type of child we are, which is our type of intuition and our type of soul purpose. So the first type is the air child. So the air child, we call it Vata, is the child that loves imagination and playing and skits and writing and make-believe things and arts and crafts. And that was definitely me as a child. And often later in life, first of all, it's easiest for them to go into spirituality because they're already so imaginative. But often they go into communication, writing, acting, just creating things out of the air. And that's their gift. The second type is the fire type. So these are kids that love to play outside, rumble and tumble, play board games, competitive sports. So they are really connected to that like more fiery action-oriented energy. So often they'll become entrepreneurs, people in business, fitness, engineers, things that are really goal-oriented. And then children who are the earth child, Kapha, are often the kids who love to play house and take care of animals and sit with the adults and, be in the adults' conversations and kind of like analyze and learn. And often they go into coaching, one-on-one conversations, nursing, wedding planning, things where they can really connect with people. So I'm curious what you felt like as a child.
So it's interesting because thank you for asking this, because as you were sharing, I found myself in each one. I was very driven. I was a competitive athlete. But then when you said Kapha, that hit me. And I think I did. You can do the
test quiz on my website.
Yes. Check out her quiz on her website, because I did do it, and I forgot what it was until you said it, and it was kapha. And I was totally the kid who was sitting with all the adults. I love one-on-ones. It fills my soul. Like this right now fills my soul. What are the other and I love animals. Like animals and children, I think, are the most incredible creatures on the planet.
Yeah, I always say kapha is like Oprah energy, which obviously she has that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But kapha, the earth child, so intuitively you're connected through people. You get your intuition through people, through conversation. Someone says something and it sparks something. So for you, the best practice would not be going and meditating by yourself for hours, because that would actually disconnect you. But maybe you spending time with animals, spending time with children, that's how you connect, because you're deeply connected to earth. You're connected to your lower chakras, the root chakra, which is our lower body, dancing, movement, embodiment. Like dancing. These are the spiritual practices for you. Now, someone who's more pitta, the fire child, for them, they need something that's a little bit more structured, right? Like follow along meditation practice or a breath work practice where they do like breath of fire and rigorous breathing. They hold their breath and they release, and they need that structure. Otherwise, they might not value it. They might not show up for it. So I find a lot of men are have more fire, more pitta in them. So they need like their morning routine and they're this and they're that. Otherwise, they might just not take it seriously. Then the vata, the air child, is kind of a lot of like space and creativity, and often like arts are their form of spirituality. So it's through their music or their acting or even dancing as well. So you can, and also we're not just one, we're all three, but in various amounts, right? So you're clearly, I feel you're all three, but definitely kapha and vata, you know, and then you also were an athlete, so you have that pitta side of you. And it is important because if we don't have a relationship with one of the doshas, that's like the hole in our pocket that ends up being a problem later on. So it's good to be able to dance between all three of the doshas. But
can you say what a dosha is? What does that
mean? So dosha means energy. So it's an energy type or a mind-body type. So it's these three: air, fire, and earth. Vata, pitta, kapha. And it's so cool. And this is the thing that changed my life. Because when I learned about my dosha, when I learned about my mind-body type, that's what led to me understanding who I am, how my health issues were related to my mind, healing them, and then that gave me clarity to step into my soul's purpose, which is called your Dharma. So when you're living in alignment with your dosha, your mind-body type, you step into your Dharma, your soul's purpose. So basically, you as a child were born exactly with the gifts that you were meant to share with the world. It's just that we forget. So as a child, I was very vata, very imaginative, creative, but, you know, my dad from Iran was very strict and he wanted us to do math school and, you know, get good grades. And so I kind of like, for his approval, kind of like forced myself into that and, you know, went to school in George Washington University, and I was studying international relations, and I wanted to be an international human rights lawyer. And, you know, I deeply wanted to help the world. And the way that I saw doing so was through, you know, human rights, the UN, the World Bank, you know, these big organizations. And it wasn't until I started working in them in DC that I realized that I wanted to help people more hands-on. You know, I didn't like the bureaucracy in there, and yes, a lot, which I'm sure. Yes. And I'm like, I feel like I'm just working really behind the scenes, and I want to touch the people who I help, and that's my kapha side. And at that time, I was actually going through health challenges. So I was living in India doing work in health and sanitation in the slums of Delhi, actually, which I know you're involved with in Sierra Leone. And at that time, I was raw vegan. So being a raw vegan in India is like unheard of, but I was just eating fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. And over time, that made my body just really shut down. So I lost like 30 pounds. I had really bad digestive issues. Like I was 88 pounds. I didn't get my period for 2 years. And my body went into perimenopause when I was 21. So doctor said I will never be able to have children, that I would have osteoporosis early in life. And, you know, gave me prescriptions for all these, you know, hormone replacement therapy, antidepressants for my gut, like all these different prescriptions. And I intuitively knew that there was something deeper, like, because how come all of a sudden I need these prescriptions? That something in me just said, focus on healing yourself. So now I couldn't heal the world. I had to focus on healing myself. And that brought me into the journey of studying, which brought me to Ayurveda. So I learned about naturopathy, Chinese medicine, then Ayurveda. I learned about these doshas that I shared with you. And that was the key, because let me tell you, that vata dosha, that air type, also has air in their bodies. So they're bloated. They have low hormones. They have dry skin. All of the issues in my body that doctors were like, I don't know, because I'm a gastroenterologist, so I can only talk about your digestion. Or I'm an endocrinologist, so I can only talk about your hormones. for the first time, I saw one archetype comprise everything going on in all parts of my body, but my mind, my personality, my gifts, what I was into, like, and I just felt so seen for the first time. And I just became obsessed with learning everything about it. And not only did I regain my period, get healthier than ever before, but all of a sudden I was finding myself, instead of having all these ideas, I was able to follow through with my ideas and take action because now I had more of the other doshas that I was missing.
And what did you do? What actions did you actually take? What did it look like?
So it started with my food. So eating raw vegan when you are a Vata, an air type, is like the worst thing for you because raw foods are cold, they're dry, they're really hard to digest, lots of fibers in them. So already if I had a low, because we call our digestion a fire. So if I already had a really low fire, putting all this raw kale on it, it's really hard for my body to break down. It's less energy for my body to heal, let alone to menstruate. My body's like, it's not safe for you to have a child. So a lot of us, you know, especially in that time, it was like green smoothie era and kale salads and this and that. And we thought that was the key to health. So we started to eat cooked foods, you know, grounded foods. So foods literally that grew to the earth, root vegetables, sweet potatoes, ginger, like blended things that at first I was like, oh my God. And it's also that fat phobia we have in our minds of like foods with oil. I'm going to get fat, you know?
Or carbs, like, oh, I can't have all those root vegetables. There's too many carbs.
Too many carbs, exactly. And so, and eating meats as well. I was a vegan for 7 years. So starting to eat meat again. And from that grounding in my body, I also at that time was doing a lot of like really intense yoga practices. And instead I started to strength train, go slower, take walks, like build structure in my body rather than, you know, a body out of balance further craves the things that knock it off balance. So instead of me doing like, oh, this weird, crazy yoga every day for 3 hours, it's like, I need to like learn how to like squat. You know, I need to learn like basic, like building strength in my body, which builds strength into my mind.
Right.
So that led to now all of a sudden I have more perseverance, more strength, more confidence. And now those aspects can support my Dharma, can support my creativity. Now I don't just have an idea for something, I can follow through. That led to me writing my first book, Idiot's Guide to Ayurveda, walking up to Deepak Chopra at a conference, him writing the foreword of the book.
I love
going
it.
on to, you know, write more, yeah.
Just admires you so much. And you've written how many books now?
I've written 4 books.
Yes. And he's written the foreword to 3 of them.
The 3 books. The other one is called The Yogic Path.
Wow. That's extraordinary.
Yeah, and so many people ask me, they're like, how did you go from, because also at this time, my situation with my parents was really hard, you know, because they were like, when are you going to get a normal job? Like, you're just trying to make this book happen, because it wasn't overnight. It took me 2 years to write this book.
Right.
And not only after I wrote the book, I got rejected by 30 publishers. And all the publishers said the same things my parents said. You're too young. You're not a doctor. No one cares about Ayurveda, and it's not going to happen. And so I was really kind of stuck because in my soul, I knew I had gone through these health problems for a reason. And there had to be something deeper that I was meant to share what I've learned along the way. But I had no evidence. You know, I had never seen anyone living their Dharma. I had never seen anyone write a book or be a coach or in spirituality or any of these things. So I sometimes wondered, like, is this like a Santa Claus story I have in my head of like, follow your dreams? And then you get older. And I remember there was one specific fight with my dad that he called me a loser, a failure, and disowned me.
Wow.
And he said, you're not my daughter. This is not the daughter that I would raise, and I want nothing to do with you. And I remember going downstairs to my childhood room just crying, and I was just on my knees in a puddle of tears and like looking up at all my toys. And I was like,
how old were you?
I was like 23 at this time.
Wow.
And I was just like, was this all like a lie? Like they told me to follow my dreams, and here I am doing it, and I'm a failure, and I'm dead to him. But you know what, Sarah, at that moment, something came through me. It was like this wave of just like freedom, of like, I no longer need to live for your approval anymore. And now I'm going to live this life for myself. And after that, I stopped trying to like do that thing of like, do you like this? Like, what do you think of that? And try to convince them of my decisions. And I had a friend who, she was doing yoga retreats, and she was doing a retreat back in India. And she said, oh, if you can teach Ayurveda, it's enough for you to get a flight back. I said, okay, I'll do it, you know? So that got me a flight back to India, where I spent the next year studying and writing the book. And, you know, the beauty of living in India was my expenses were less, so I could like really be all in.
Was there a certain place that you studied in India?
So I studied in Delhi.
Oh, in Delhi.
At this point, I went to Goa in South India, a town called Arambol, which is kind of like, a very like hippie beach community. I lived in a $2 a night hut.
Wow.
That had
On the beach?
rats in it on the beach. But it's like, it was amazing on the beach, but and my family had wealth growing up, but I said I would rather not be a part of any of this and be true to myself. And so I was literally living in a hut with a padlock lock, so I only had access to it. But every day I would notice my underwear was in the walls. And I'm like, how is my underwear?
What in the world?
Yeah, like, how's my underwear like through the walls? And there was a tin hut. It was like a literal hut. I'm not kidding. So I would hear the rats all the time
So it's made out of like wood pieces, or
wood pieces with like leftover tins from like a construction site.
What's the tin hut? Right. Yeah.
Like I live in a shanty.
Yeah.
So I would hear the rats every day, but I was just used to it. But then I was starting to think, are these rats moving my underwear? Because I just had one bag. And then one day I woke up and my mosquito net was this close to my face and a rat had fallen on the mosquito net. It was like a huge rat. And it was like this close to my face. I had to like pick up my sandal and I was like throwing my sandal, trying to get the rat across. But I'm telling you, that's to the level I was willing to live in to be true to myself. Because I could have easily gone back to Boston with my family and, lived in their home and been supported by them. But I said, this lifetime for me is about liberation. And I feel that is really what gave me that strength within myself of like, I don't need your approval. I don't need anyone's approval. And that's what brought me through being rejected by 30 publishers and walking up to a stranger like Deepak Chopra and sharing my book with him and, going on to create, a multiple seven-figure businesses and my coaching and my memberships and all the things that I do. It wouldn't have been for those moments. So if someone's in it right now, and I don't think anyone has to go to the extreme I did, but sometimes I feel like the universe is actually asking us, do we really walk our talk? Are we really willing to? Because we have a Dharma, but are we embodying it? And for me to be the embodiment of living my soul's purpose, I needed to go through my deepest fear, which was to let go of the approval of my family. And now flash forward 10 years later, it's all come in harmony. And for the first time, like the other day, my dad's like, I'm proud of you. I'm like, what? When? But it just shows like I didn't get that from trying to make him happy. I followed through with that by making myself happy.
And he was proud, and he's proud of that.
Yeah.
Wow. And also something else you told me through the healing of yourself, you are able to have children now.
Yes.
I mean, somebody at the young age of
I was 20. I was 21 when it started, 23 when I started to heal it. So for 2 years, no period at all.
But just that you healed yourself and that now you're taking on so many things and you have your own certification that people can. I want to know more about this. Can you share about that? Because I think I want to do it.
Oh, well, we're going to get
my spare time.
Sure. So a lot of people were asking me, how did you go from disowned by your family, broke, health challenges? I also went through a breakup. Like, it was like all of the things that you had no friends
at once. It's like
full dark night of the soul apart. Yeah. And now I can see those moments that we call dark nights of the soul are those moments where your old reality is like gone. God is just like, okay, this world is no longer in alignment with you anymore.
Yeah.
You have spiritually up-leveled. So the things you have built, the relationships, the friendships, the home, all of these things
are going away.
Yeah.
And what's so crazy about that is even though it's a good thing, I've experienced the same thing. It feels like so much loss.
Yeah.
Like you're mourning the loss, even if it was a weight or maybe that, you need to let go of it to move on to the next part of your life. Anyway, please.
Yeah, life has such seasons and chapters, and I feel like these dark nights of the soul initiations are when everything shifts. It's like really going into the metamorphosis of a butterfly. Yes. And the butterfly doesn't just suddenly start sharing her wings. She goes into the cocoon. She goes into the darkness. We in our society, we celebrate summer so much. Someone's having their glow up. Someone's in, their full expression, but it took winter to get to that summer. And I find that if we don't surrender to these beautiful metamorphosis experiences, well, they're going to have to happen through an outside situation. And, that was my first one 10 years later, which was, almost 2 years ago now. I went through another one through my divorce, finding out about my then husband's ongoing infidelity. And it was a full dark night of the soul because now here I am, spiritual, living my Dharma. And I was like, wait, I'm back here again.
Why is this happening?
This time it's someone I chose, and it was so, But this time it was like being awake within a dream. And I knew from everything I've learned
That's so interesting. Awake within a dream.
Yes, that I knew that if God was taking this away from me, it was for something so much greater. And this time I surrendered to the death rather than trying to fight against it or being confused or why is this happening to me? I realized it's happening for me and through me. And so I surrendered to that death and I let myself, I told my team, I said, you know what? I'm probably never going to dance again. Probably never going to wear bright colors again. And I will be in this for as long as it takes. And I surrendered to being in it.
And to move through it. If you try to jump over it or, oh, everything's okay.
Exactly.
You don't, but you let yourself be in the morning of it or
in the grief and the shock. And there's many layers to any kind of dark night of the soul, but especially with heartbreak, it's like lots of layers of grief, anger, sadness, disgust, just loneliness, and really let myself move through it, but knowing that my brightest light is on the other side. And from surrendering into it and embodying it, so dancing through, I have this process I created on the other side called the Triple E method. So that stands for emote, embody, and express. So what I would do, and maybe you've had these moments where you wake up in the morning and you're like, is this really my life? And it's
yes.
I can't believe this is happening. And it's like 51st dates, you have to like rewatch the story of your life. I mean,
so it's like, is this really my life? Like frustrated,
sad. Like I'm
not supposed to be here. I should be there by now.
Exactly. Yeah. And just like, I can't believe I'm single. Like I didn't expect this. But and that was like many, many mornings, but I would feel emote. So I would feel like whether it was loneliness, I would feel, what does loneliness feel like in my heart? Where do I feel it in my body? What color does it have? What texture does it have? And so I would emote it. Then I would embody. So what would I desire to feel instead? What's the opposite of feeling lonely? Feeling held. Now, how can I embody feeling held? So for me, I would lie down on the earth, on the yoga mat, and just feel myself being held by the earth and feel how I'm always held and how in life I've always been held. And even in those moments that I thought everything was slipped under my feet, I'm always held. I'm always supported by like unseen forces that always have all of our best interests at heart.
And you were what I want to point out is you found that feeling of being held within yourself.
Yes.
You didn't have to find it from an exterior force, if you will, or somebody outside of you. You were finding it within yourself. And I think there's so much to say about that because so often, and I can say even for myself, sometimes I've looked outside of myself to feel better, or whether it's ice cream or a person or whatever it is. And it's taking the time to go inward, which we don't always do, and sometimes we're afraid to do, to see what's going on inside. So you went inside and you do your practice of feeling held. Yes. And then where were you?
Yeah. And then, so I emote, I embody, and then I express. So then how can I express what it feels like to be held? So for me, I started to write poetry, and that was a beautiful way of expression. Someone could sing. Someone can dance. You can record a voice note of yourself. I've loved taking a walk and just recording a voice note to myself, or just talking out my ideas or my thoughts or my fears, or journaling, writing, having a conversation. And then that feeling has been given form. And I feel the ultimate way that we can heal ourselves from any kind of trauma or pain or obstacle is to turn it into something greater. To turn it into art, to turn it into a podcast, to turn it into something that's being of service, because then your pain is no longer in vain, but rather it serves a higher purpose.
And is that what brought you into music?
That's exactly what brought me into. I was not producing music before that, but all those poems, and I was so sad I couldn't even listen to a podcast or read a book, but I would listen to music really deeply. And something about heartbreak, it opens up your heart. I was hearing the music on such a deeper level, like, wow, like her voices and the ad-libs and the instrumentals, like, was it always like this? Like, I wasn't present, right, in my life fully until this. And then I started to think, imagine if I could like produce my own music or put my poetry on there. And that later became my album called My Body is an Altar, which is really about seeing myself as a sacred site that will only be treated as such.
I love that. And that's everywhere. So people need to find that song.
Yes.
Where's the best place for people to listen to?
Spotify, Apple Music. You just look up Sahara Rose. I actually just released a song called Sexy Dark Night of the Soul.
Ooh,
so it's about taking your dark night of soul and making it sexy. And the beat's a very Missy Elliott vibe, so I know you're going to like it.
I love that. Mm-hmm. No, I know your music has a threads of Middle Eastern influence, but also African influence. Can you share a little bit about your heritage and your background, ethnicity, everything?
Yes. So, my parents are both from Iran, but Iran is like the modern country that now Persian Empire was really expansive throughout the Middle East. So what I learned was that my great grandmother was Ethiopian. My mother's side is from south of Iran, which is called Khuzestan. So it's across the Persian Gulf from Ethiopia, Eritrea, Somalia. So it's very, very interconnected. So in my music, I've always been really drawn to African music, then Afro beats. And I actually produced a song called Divane, which I'll have to send to you, using the ancient instruments, the Afro-Iranian ancient instruments that you'll only hear from that region. And it's so tribal, it's so like that root chakra feeling that a lot of people who listen to it, they have like full past life remembrance. Because I believe that we're not just connected to our ancestors, we're also connected to our past lives. Like, you were definitely Persian in your past life, for sure. Surrounded by them. Your whole team is like Persian.
I know, it's really interesting, isn't it?
I see it. And my aunt looks exactly like you. So I feel we have our ancestors moving through us. And oftentimes people are like, oh, I'm just Italian or I'm just this. But it's all melting pot.
Right. We're so many things.
Borders, exactly. They're all new and people were traveling. So I have North African in me. I have Indian in me. I have Pakistani in me, Italian in me. And so I feel sometimes we're so caught in just where our parents are from. Most of us know nothing about our great-grandparents.
Right.
Like, we are completely disconnected. And a lot of my spiritual practice has been tuning into my grandparents and their stories and their gifts. And I find that my life really is a reflection of the unfinished business that they had. And I believe that we stand on our ancestors' shoulders.
Indeed.
And we go as far as they could have, they go as far as they can in their lifetime, and we stand upon their shoulders for their unfinished business, our parents' unfinished business.
Exactly.
And then our children and continue. And what I really saw is that ultimately we are life, giving life back to life itself. And it's the cycle and it's this dance. And there's so much wisdom, for people on this journey. I know you were adopted, so you went through your journey. So I'm curious, did you learn more about your grandparents?
I did. And what you're saying, I mean, of course you're asking me this because we're so connected. As you were talking, I was thinking about my grandfather in Sierra Leone, and he was knighted Justice of the Peace by the Queen of England. He did a lot of work around education in the country. And one of the things that he was doing was making sure people had what they needed in the country, education and support and so on. And one of the things that I've always said is I'm walking in the footsteps of my grandfather, because not just my grandfather on that side, but I was raised and adopted into a family who are parents who've always been of service in the world. So my mom, who raised me, and my family who adopted me, she went to Barbados and did a whole trip with women and learning about childcare and learning about healthcare in Barbados. My dad came back and said, Jim, our girls, my two older sisters, who are my parents' children, then they adopted me. She said, our girls need to see the world, because the world is not just America. And we have to make sure we figure out a way to travel. And I think, and she said, I also want to have another child, but there's so many children who need families, so there's no need for us to have another child. Let's adopt. So I feel like at any time anybody needed anything, my mom was like making cookies or making soup for somebody down the street. My dad was a Rotarian and did service work, and he also was a professor in the medical school. And both of my parents are educators. So I grew up learning about being of service and the importance of that. And the same with my family in Sierra Leone. As leaders in the community, in the country, it's their whole background is how do we best be of service to people around us? How do we make sure everyone's taken care of? I mean, it's not just about us on this planet individually, right? There's a we here. And how do we make sure we are all taken care of? And one of the things I have to say that my mom, Judy, who raised me, she said, because I have my birth mother as well, so just to differentiate, she said, we weren't put on this planet to do everything by ourselves. And if somebody in another part of the world is having a hard time or dealing with a challenge, that affects all of us. She's always said that. Some people are like, well, I'm fine. My family's fine. I don't care about people over there. And it's like, no. Energetically, spiritually, I mean, we saw that with Ebola. Ebola took off in West Africa, in Sierra Leone, and people were like, oh, that's over there. And then, no, it wasn't. It actually did come to the United States, and we were connected. So it's so important for us to understand our global connections and the energy that we share and the impact when part of our world is off balance or fighting, how it affects all of us. So anyway,
I love that you shared that because, you know, from a spiritual perspective, I'm curious how you've understood this. It's so clear what your soul chose. I'm curious, do you feel like your soul chose this path?
Yes. Unbeknownst to me. Unbeknownst to my mind.
We have to agree to the temporary amnesia of being a human. You know, it's like,
right?
We're these incredible souls with these dharmas, these gifts, this mission, but we agree to come down into human form and forget it all. As children, I think we remember a bit, but then society, school, you know, we forget. And then we have to go on a journey of remembering again. But I believe your soul chose Judy, your mom.
Oh, for sure.
Chose that family and, you know, and then for you to build that strength, education, and harness that really global, you know, global compassion that you have.
And I thank you for saying that. And that's because of my parents, because we lived in other countries when I was a kid growing up, which is another reason why I do this show. We do this show because it takes a village to do this show. And I want to expose people to different cultures, to different folks doing things around the world from the royalty perspective, learning about culture, but and the tea times to learn about what people are up to, how they've gotten to where they are, how people have overcome their challenges. One of the through lines that I'm seeing on these episodes is, and I hear it in you, I hear it with the woman that I interviewed earlier today, this through line of not taking a no as the final answer. Like you could have a million no's and you keep going. And also this perseverance to never give up. That's what I hear in you on yourself or your dreams. That's what I heard from her today. And I heard about from both of you and almost everyone I've interviewed about being of service in some way to others. So there's just this through line I'm seeing of people and how people have become successful in their life, and success is a matter of opinion, right? Everyone.
Maybe you write a book on this.
Yeah? Yeah. Say more about that. What do you mean?
Because I like how you noticed these patterns, you know, because I feel like we all hear the story of like, you know, the hero's journey, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I feel like it's like to really dissect, like, what are the things for people that inspire us that have moved the needle? And 100%, I think it's that, you know, there's a difference between an internal no and an external no, right? An internal no is, I don't really want to do this thing, but I'm forcing myself. And I feel those are the no's to follow. But the external no is, I really want to do this thing, but society's telling me no. My parents are telling me no. The publishers telling me no. And that's an illusion.
Right.
And I feel that sometimes we're given these initiations because through those initiations, it's like a mirage, you know, it's like this big scary monster that we think is the very reason why we can never live our dharmas. But then once we realize it's all a mirage, it's all an illusion, then it's like quicksand and it's gone. And then you actually quantum leap into your highest timeline that you could have never imagined before. Like for me to go from 1 year rejected by 30 publishers, no book deal, broke, to 1 year later, book deal with Penguin Random House, forward by Deepak Chopra on the Chopra. It makes no logical sense, but it was me internally shifting my vibration to choose this as my reality, even though I have no evidence of it. And I
manifesting
feel like,
it,
exactly,
visualizing it. I love that.
Yeah, and like manifesting through God, like manifesting through like, I feel like even manifestation where we make it so like, I want this thing, and it's like very focused on material desires, or I need the boyfriend so then I can feel important. I need the money so then I can feel, but it's like, that's what I love about Dharma. It's something divine. It's something your soul chose. It's being of service. I always say your Dharma is your highest form of joy and your highest form of service together. Ooh. Because when you are living in joy, it's infinite. Your creativity is infinite. You can show up day in and day out. You can put in the long hours. You can go through the hard situations because you are fueled by joy. Whereas me being of service through the sacrifice, I don't really want to do it, but it's the only way I can, you're never going to persist. And that's what we see in a lot of, you know, nonprofit organizations. I know you're working in there, is people, they've lost the joy.
Yeah.
You know, so then they're not innovating anymore. There is a challenge. Oh, I guess this is just the challenge. where if it's, you could bring back the energy of the heart. The heart is the most powerful energy. When you bring back the love, which often we need that connection, we need to like see the people that we're helping. And then the roadblocks, we realize, oh, that's just the mirage that I personally need to go through my fears. Because the funny thing is it's everyone's in their own reality. That the big reason why one person feels like they can't live their Dharma is totally different than someone else. And I feel like this world is almost like a video game, and they put our biggest fears in front of us to realize that it was all an illusion. And then we step into something that we could have never believed was possible.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, I think you have about 5 more books in.
At least. I don't know, girl. I think I'm going to stick to rapping for now.
So in your music, speaking of rapping, are you rapping?
I rap, yeah.
Okay, I've got to listen to all of it.
I rap, I sing, I make music. The reason why, and I will write books, but I feel like we're in a new paradigm right now. That like personally, I don't find myself like sitting and reading a book. I'm like, everyone's in movement, like social media, and I'm like, that's why I have my podcast, like,
yeah.
And I feel like the world is shifting so fast that I'm like, we're in this wave right now. Like people are listening, like we're in a wave right now. Like you feel it, we're on a boat, and it's like, and then imagine like this came out like 3 years later. It's like,
right?
We might be like on Mars by then, like who knows, we might be in like silver outfits. So, so that's what I don't know what the future is, but I'm putting my energy towards like my podcast and, sharing things that I can like share what's really happening right now, because I feel like time is like moving faster and faster and faster. And things that would have taken years to happen before happen in like days.
Yes. It's so different. Well, I think it's also the connections that we have with our phones, with the internet, with social media. Things happen overnight. It's a different, time is moving differently.
Yes.
That's very, very true. Do you have an ultimate dream of something you want to pursue in life? Like, oh, by the end of this time on this planet, I want to have done this.
Something that really draws me is like shared community living. I really feel it's the future of people coming together, living in the land, supporting each other, having their own homes, but like having shared gardens where they can like eat organic food from the soil, shared dinners together, practices like doing an ecstatic dance or yoga or different speakers coming in and like coming back to the way of the tribe. Because I feel that the reason why there is such high levels of depression and anxiety and all the issues that we have today is because we're so lonely and we're not meant to live alone. It's like putting a dog by themselves and be like, you need to practice more self-love. It's like, no, dogs are meant to be with people. Humans are meant to be with one another.
They're pack animals. They're meant to be.
And so are we. We forget that, and
loneliness is something that a big, this...
Studies show that loneliness kills more people than cigarettes.
Yeah. And it's become something really a huge epidemic. And especially after the pandemic, people have really found this loss of connection and are working to reconnect. Actually, a friend of mine's working with somebody else on the Connect effect. He's actually developed a program to help people within organizations connect in a deep, amazing way that we've kind of lost, which is really interesting. This is something, what you're talking about is so important. And I don't know if you saw the Blue Zones on Netflix and how people are living to 100 in these blue zones, but exactly what you said. The number one thing is what they're eating, but you could eat great stuff, but if you're lonely, that's not going to work. They're living in community. They're eating great foods. They have their own little gardens. They're walking up and down hills together. There was a woman in one of the episodes in Italy. I can't remember what city in Italy or what town. And she didn't have, all of her family had passed away and she had no children. And my first thought is, oh, wow, that's going to be lonely. She took care of so many people in the community that she lived in, that all those women come and see her every day. They're like, you took care of me when I was a little girl. So they all take care of her now that she's 100 years old. And she is loving life. How often do we even talk to people, or we go for months without talking to people in our lives because we get so busy? I mean, I can call myself out for that as well. So loneliness is serious.
It really is. And, I feel after COVID, we just became so reliant on, sending someone a quick little DM or a voice note and saying that suffices. I remember seeing reels, and it's like when you and your best friend catch up like once a month and just kind of like inform each other of all the new characters in your life. And if that's your closest friend and you only speak to them once a month, over 50% of people don't feel comfortable telling their partner what their dreams are for their lives.
Wow.
Over 50% of people. So we wonder why aren't people living their dharmas? Why aren't people living their soul's purposes? They don't even feel comfortable sharing that to their partner because they're afraid of being judged, and I feel even another epidemic, relationships today. I mean, just the amount of avoidance that's happening, ghosting that's happening, the ways that we look at relationships as transactional. Let's talk about how self-absorbed society has become because of social media. That we are looking at, back in the day, there was like maybe a mirror in your town. I mean, like 6 times of the year, you would like, oh, wow, this is what I look like. Cool. Moving on. How many times a day are we looking at ourselves? Constant. We're always, and not just looking at ourselves. Then we put filters on ourselves. So we have a fake version of ourselves that so many women I know who I love and they're beautiful will not share one video of themselves on social media without a filter, because they feel that now people think I look like this and I have to keep the standard up. Otherwise, people will think I'm ugly. And, it's interesting because in my own journey, something that I'm really practicing doing, and I'm here on your podcast, so I got a little glam, but like to not wear makeup and to really show myself with no makeup on, because that's who I really am, just bare. And I feel that we all have all these masks and these, roles that we play to try to get people to like us, but we don't actually really let people in. So I feel we're actually in a really exciting time because we're having these conversations right now, whereas before it was kind of unconscious and unquestioned. And I truthfully believe in this lifetime, we're going to experience beautiful communities where we're coming together, taking care of the children, living on earth, and coming back to the tribal ways that humans were meant to live.
Right. And I think people in other countries are doing that really well.
Oh, yeah.
I think other countries still have that tribal part of them in Sierra Leone and other countries. And I feel like America, we need that more. And some people do within their communities. In West Virginia, like everyone took care of everybody's kids. Somebody's kid's running over there. Hey, did you see Bob's kid over there? We need to go get him. Or running over the neighbors to borrow sugar to make cookies or something like that. We just were in community. And I feel like as I'm finally feeling like here in LA, I know my neighbors now, but it was really hard to get to know people in LA because people just don't talk. And like, what do you want or what do you need? I'm like, no, I'm from West Virginia. I just talk a lot to people. That's part of my spirit. But I think it's something we definitely need more. And the other thing that I think is so important, someone shared with me, is acknowledging something if you see something in someone. Like, oh, I love your hair, or great outfit, or you have such a wonderful spirit, or whatever it is, and keep going, because we never know the impact that's going to make on somebody in that moment. And we feel it, but we're so often, embarrassed or shy to share, but we have no idea the difference it'll make for somebody.
And those very things you notice in people are related to their dharma, but we have blinders on. We don't see it. So those compliments, and for people listening, think about the compliments you get from people, because we don't randomly give out compliments. So if someone keeps telling you, wow, you have such a way of making me feel seen and heard, that's something unique to you, which I told you. Or you hold such beautiful dinner parties, or you're so organized, or you're so great with aesthetics, or wow, you make everyone feel welcome in your home. These are really specific things that people are sharing. And I feel sometimes we're used to getting those compliments that we think, oh, everyone must get that. But we don't, because we don't give those compliments to everyone. So I always say your superpowers are those things that people are noticing within yourself. And I actually have a framework called the Dharma Blueprint. So it's 5 things you can put together to help you find your Dharma. So the first one are your superpowers, those things that come easily to you that may not to other people. The second is what you're excited about. So I always say excitement are the breadcrumbs guiding us towards our Dharma. So what you're wanting to like Google search, or the podcasts you want to listen to, or you go on any kind of retreat, what kind of retreat would you want to go on, or conversations you want to have with your friends. That excitement, it's like revving up the engine. And if we often look at the things we're doing today, it's things we were excited about a few years ago. Right. Like I'm sure you've been excited about these conversations for years before until finally you took action creating this podcast. And
we've been talking about this for years. Actually, what I'm manifesting and our team is manifesting is that this actually becomes a travel show. that we actually get to go places, having people here for tea times or go to them, but really go and visit royalty in their home, in their culture, have people see the food, and, that kind of connection. That's what I'm really passionate about. And I'm manifesting that to happen. It's already happened. Time has just kept.
Well, let's see it, because I think it's going to totally align with your Dharma blueprint, because we can see your superpower is connecting with people, speaking with people, having conversations. You're excited about traveling, having these conversations around the world. So the next one are your mediums. What are the mediums that come through you? So are you a writer? And even getting specific, long form writing, short form writing, blog writing, novel writing, legal writing, speaker. Do you like to speak on a stage? Do you like to speak one-on-one? Do you like to speak this? Like getting really clear. So you love stage, you love one-on-one.
And that's what I do actually outside of here. I'm a speaker and speak a lot in the corporate world and in universities and government places as well. And I love it.
I love that. So we know now your medium is related to speaking. Some other mediums might be data analysis, event planning. Like there's so many mediums that can come through.
Yes.
And the fourth category are your Dharma archetypes. So I have 9 archetypes, which are universal archetypes related to our dharmas. So we've got the teacher, here to share information and knowledge.
Yes.
We've got the visionary, here to inspire and lead. You've definitely got the visionary to you. We have the researcher, here to dive into data with facts and information, like Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the warrior, here to protect and lead, like a Tony Robbins, or a lot of people in fitness as well. We've got the entrepreneur, here to create solutions for world's problems through business, such as Gary Vee.
Mm-hmm.
The entertainer, here to make people feel, such as Jim Carrey.
Yep.
The activist, here to care for social justice issues, such as Marianne Williamson. The nurturer, here to really connect with people one-on-one, that kapha energy, like Oprah. And then the artist, here to bring beauty to this world. So again, we all have all 9 archetypes. I also have a quiz for that, dharmaarchetypequiz.com, which I think
I took all your quizzes because I was like, I want to know more about how she works. And honestly, one of the quizzes that I took is this when you find out I'm a nurse, something queen, something.
Oh, the embodiment queen. So that's another conversation.
Okay, that's a different conversation.
So but see, they're all connected, because so your dosha is a kapha, which is earth energy, grounded, connected to people. Your Dharma archetype is a nurturer. Right? You're a nurturer and you're a visionary. You're also a teacher. You're also an artist as well. So we have all 9, but in different amounts.
Right.
But then also, which we can go into, which is your goddess archetype, which is another quiz I have, which we can link all these below for people. I love the quizzes, was the embodiment queen. So we can see that's dancing, body, connection. This is you across the board.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty when we start to notice these patterns, then we know we're in alignment with our Dharma.
And also knowing more about ourselves, because when I read one of the quizzes, I got teary. When I saw, it was almost like I was reflected back to myself, and it's like, oh, other people are like this? I felt like I was on an island by myself. And when I did that quiz, it made me feel so much better about myself. And it's like, oh, you'd rather go and spend time by yourself sometime to regroup than be with a group of people. There were just all these different parts to it. So I definitely suggest people check out her quizzes, do them for yourself, because it gives you so much information. And one last thing before we close out, is there any nugget of wisdom or anything that you've learned on your journey that you want a few sentences to leave with people today?
Well, know that your intuition is always speaking to you. It's always whispering to you through signs, through synchronicities, through hearing the right thing at the right time, tuning into this podcast. Like, you're here for a reason, and your soul is ready for what is to come next. And if only we knew how guided we are, how protected we are, we start to open up to this conversation with the universe. And then we see our angel numbers, or, we hear this thing in a song, and it gives us this realization. And then all of a sudden life becomes like we're flowing downstream rather than going up, and all of a sudden we are taking 10 steps ahead when we physically only took 1, because of all of the divine support that we receive. And life is meant to be lived that way. We're meant to live in a flow. When I was going through my divorce and I was like, it's such unknown, where am I going to live, and all the things, I just kept telling myself this mantra, and I really want people to take this home. Trust, flow, surrender, let go. Trust, flow, surrender, let go.
That sounds like a flow, surrender, let go.
Hey, and then you're going to say, I'm the one I've been waiting for. Trust, flow, surrender, let go. Trust, flow, surrender, let go. I'm the one I've been waiting for. And that became my first song, which is an Afrobeat song. It's played all over Africa right now.
I love this.
And it was just the mantra I was telling myself.
I love this. And the power of music.
But it goes to show that the things that you are learning for yourself, the things you're struggling with, are the very things you're meant to help other people with.
Yeah.
I did not know how to trust flow and surrender. Like, that's what I wanted to tell myself it, and that's how it became the song.
I love it. Oh, thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Check her out. Check her podcast out. Get certified with her amazing classes. Just connect with her because it will just lift your soul, and I'm going to do it as well. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for
Can we find you on any where shall we find you?
Yeah, so my podcast is called Highest Self Podcast, which I'll have to have you on as well.
Love that.
And my Instagram is I am Sahara Rose. You can find me on iamsahararose.com. You can find all the quizzes there linked, Dharma Archetype quiz and the Dosha quiz, the Rose Gold Goddess quiz, and yeah, my music as well. And if you listen to this episode, send me a DM. I would love to connect with you.
Yay. Thank you. Appreciate you.